Hello, it's March 29th. This is my reflection on Memorial Day and some of the things that are going on my Facebook feed today. Um, there are a lot of things with people getting together for Memorial Day, spending time with family, friends, or people we love. Fantastic. Memorial Day, by many others, there has been a touch of nationalism, um, support for the troops that fought for us, some that still are. Uh, the thing of it is much of it has a tone of supporting the troops from two great world wars. Um, and many of those gentlemen are now leaving us and moving on to be with God. And I don't think anyone really knows the things that those soldiers went through back in those days, but it had to be pretty grim, pretty horrific. As humans, I think there are a lot of us, a lot of them, not us, because I don't want to include myself, but people who commit atrocities. But a lot of people didn't think of the consequences or think of what they were doing to other human beings and the situations they were putting families in, be it the Holocaust, be it interning the Japanese interning the U.S. and concentrate in their own POW camps. Um, the U.S. doing the same with the Japanese and Germans, though the POW camps in the U.S. with the Germans are less well known. I think over the course of the history of man, from the time uh, England was considered the great empire, in which they have mistreated many of their surrounding countries, be it Scotland, be it Ireland, be it Wales, be it India, be it Africa. I think that there was a sense of entitlement that was passed down from the nobles with the British in those times, and people felt that they had to. It became a way of thinking, and when many of the commoners moved to the U.S., there were probably either Irish or British that were probably a part of the empire that they wanted to manipulate the population to accede to the will of the British Empire. There were, there were slaves that history reported had 7-year contracts. I guess they called them serfs, and a lot of that is, from what I've read, I think it being just work 7 years and you're on your own. I don't believe that a lot of that went on. Uh, the government was much less involved in what individual people were doing back in those days, before we were even a country. The king or queen of England did not care how the colonies got them back what they felt was their deserved reward for allowing people to discover the new country. When in fact these people risked their lives, many people died on those boats going across there, just as slave ships did as well. And the Caucasian people, they came to the US, they also massacred the Indians. In fact, I think in the history of the US, probably the greater tragedy is that Native Americans, even to this day, are probably treated more poorly as US citizens than even African Americans. They lost everything. This was their home. And white man came in and took everything. Took away everything, massacred people, took away their rights, didn't know humanity. And there's always been a belief, even today, there's a certain social elite that are allowing things like this to continue to this day. There are people of all races who are suffering from different things. Well, a great deal of them are caused by man-made things, people looking to make a buck, and yet not much is done for it. I mean, Supreme Court, the president, they claim to be looking after people and trying to do the right thing. You have the water crisis in Flint. When the decision was made, I don't care who was made, it was made by the governor, the emergency manager, the city council, the FDA. How can that many people be that idiotic? I don't think it was purposeful, but they weren't thinking. And you have a lot of people in positions of power that are making decisions thinking because I'm in charge, I know what I'm doing. Truth of the matter is people on the front lines, everyday people with not much in the way of financial background, having a little bit more wealth, a little bit more say, are not standing up when these things are occurring. They're just kind of going along, well, it's not me. And to me, that is perverse and disgusting. You have a gentleman who grew up here in Michigan, who's been in jail for 27 years. Prominent lawyers. He's been in jail for trying to sell drugs as a youth offender. He served more time than anyone has when that law was involved, was enacted. He also, to his credit, assisted police to the police and the FBI and different organizations to allow them to arrest people who were creating drug traffic. Near the end of his time with that, we've been led to believe that they no longer need him, they let him go. As an informant, nor a lot of times the government will pay a person to risk themselves for the greater good for the goal they're trying to achieve. Well, apparently they just cut him loose, and then they turned around, and he's struggling for money. He made a mistake. He was selling drugs. I don't think he denies that. I don't think anybody denies that. He got arrested and he got put in under the old law. And when that law was reframed, he's the only guy left in jail. We have judges in Detroit. They have 2 or 3 time felons, some more than that, letting guys go out on bond. Here is a guy who is not at risk to do anything violent, and they can't release him. It's a sad case of justice. A guy has done his time as cruel and unusual punishment. And yet all these people who are trying to revitalize Detroit are looking to fill their pockets with money instead of trying to create things that will make the neighborhoods better. And it's very clear that they want to get the business going so they can make their money, and then they can reconfigure Detroit the way they want it to be. This is a pattern of what the U.S. has done to people. There are a lot of great things about these people. You have everyday patriots who do the right thing by people. Then you have people who are frustrated with the people, the movers and shakers, the people with the money. They're doing nothing to create anything for the little guy. Because the guy with all the money is going, I'm setting myself up. I'm not worried about anybody else. Well, that's all fine and good, but it's very short sighted. Because if you allow people to take a part of the process and enjoy some of the benefits of increased commerce, making neighborhoods look better, cleaning up the crime, and this is something that has really been left to go since the riots in Detroit in '67 and '68. And now all of a sudden you have all these people who have money looking to enrich themselves without doing anything for the common man. And nobody's asking for a handout. They're asking for an opportunity. Those opportunities are few and far between. And the window dressing is going up, but I don't see where this stuff is going to create the kind of lasting jobs and economy that is going to benefit the Metro Detroit area. And as far as I'm going to go completely off of what I'm doing because I'm really kind of bashing people that they've sat on their millions for years and now are looks great, but are they impacting Detroit? They're worrying more about the businesses and the schools. schools, which everyone has known have been far behind, filled with corruption for 40, 50 years, ignored. Now you have people on this holiday reflecting on, you know, religion and hell and what it all means. And some people take it from the literal sense because from the Bible that it is Jesus' word. It's his word, but it's just like someone telling me a story and me trying to tell the exact same story. A part of it is lost in translation. And back in the days when empires were being built, church played a big part of keeping people under control by making people think that, you know, if you didn't do the right thing, you were going to hell. Well, my understanding, and this is my opinion, and it's based upon things that I've seen and done and experienced. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I kind of worked my recovery with some counseling, but I've also gone by what I felt was right, doing the right thing. And what I've come to believe is that church is great. They give a message, and a lot of times sermons will, they are related to modern day, and they will try to relate it to stories in the Bible, which many I believe they're not untrue, but they are stories to allow people to realize what could happen and to try and make the best choice for your fellow man. I believe Jesus is real, and I believe that we all need to be spiritual. The only hell that we have is the one that we create in our own minds. If you keep thinking something's bad long enough, it will be bad. Or if you think you can't overcome something, you will. And in a way, this kind of goes hand in hand with the stuff that's going on in Detroit. People see good stuff happening, but it's not happening for them. They don't believe it. They don't have faith. And a big part of a person, spirituality and belief in religion is how much faith do you have in yourself, not in God, not in Joe down the street, but in yourself. And there are fears that are put forth about things in the Bible, hell included, that really don't give us any guiding way to understand when we are alone, and maybe we understand the Bible is full of life lessons and historical things that are meant to guide us. But a physical support, reaffirmation that you can overcome fear. And there are so many people in this world that feel like they can't trust anyone. And they have to be savages in order to get what they feel they deserve. Because you have people sitting on piles of money that, face it, most people live 80 years. You can't spend that kind of money in a lifetime. And having all this wealth and doing all this partying and experiencing all these things and kind of throwing at the people who have nothing. It's ridiculous. And if you have, it's like a quote, and I'm not sure as directly as quote, but I believe it to be true because I saw it practiced by a man's company I work for, Mike Illich. If you make it to the top, you owe it to others to lower the ladder and let them come up too and give them a chance. Everybody has something to offer. And the sad thing is, many people who are running many different forms of businesses and operations, they hear what somebody says, but they don't believe in you. And they cause you to question you because it's not a way that they've ever done anything. It's not a way it's ever been done. So why should I trust you and believe in you? People have to regain the faith in themselves. And fearing being able to overcome whatever obstacles you have is a good way to keep you where you are. If you have a dream, you need to try and pursue it as much as you can. When it's something you love, you'll put passion into it. You'll care about it. And you will lower the ladder to bring other people along that are looking for something to better their lives. Sometimes I think with all the nonsense and really non-news that goes on in and through our ear, we get overwhelmed with things that are going on instead of pursuing something that we believe in, something that we think can help change our world and possibly change more people's worlds. This is the world as I see it. You have the haves and the have-nots, and the haves are going to begrudgingly, many times, deny you from climbing up that ladder because they're afraid you're going to take what they got. You may not want it, but their imagination, their fear, creates something that hasn't even happened and may never happen. And so you have to eliminate fear. Fear is the killer of dreams. Person has to step out and tackle something that they never have. If you love it and you think that you can make it better, you do so. There are many instances of people doing that. You know, one guy who was very beloved for Apple, Steve Jobs, he did that. He allowed people to think outside the box because thinking inside the box, there's more than just a box. There's more out there than that. And there are other things, and there's no reason why, because people who have money and want to keep the status quo because they don't want anything to change for them. If you have money, nothing's going to change that. Yeah, it may alter you, and you have the oil companies, they want to milk as much of the oil business as they can, but you've got people who want to create solar energy, green energy that would eliminate some of the things that are causing people to get sick all over the world. Because man, at the time when he created these things, didn't realize some of the negativity and some of the detriments it would create to mankind. So now we have more people thinking outside the box and trying to do things that will create less harm to things, and yet people do not want. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to change it, and they have the money, and they have the power, and they intend to hold on to it for as long as they can because they don't want to see anything change. They like their lives the way it is, even though the majority of the people in this world are suffering. They don't care. They'll give it lip service with different causes that, put a drop of water into a massive bucket, try and resolve a problem that is much greater and needs much more focus on it. You know, alcohol companies and pharmaceutical companies, the same thing. The goal should be to heal people. The goal should be enjoyment and social. But because all these things interact within each other, it creates such dysfunction that people feel they can't escape it. You almost have to be stronger than the wave they create to try and coming in off the surf to try and knock you down. The old phrase, get knocked down 7 times, get up an eighth. That's what I do. I'm not perfect. I'm not wealthy. You have to stick with it. You have to keep fighting. You can't give in to things that will harm you in a greater manner in the long run. The important thing is to try and give something back to this world that can benefit it and benefit those that need it most. And sometimes in a voice of one or a voice of a few, you get washed away with these people that have the money to put the message out there. There's nothing to see here. This is wrong, even though there exists significant information that we know that they're lying. And humans need to step up, and these people who are in power and revolt and try and create a society that we can all live in. People who are violent, they need help. Some people, it may be just that they're never going to fit in. I don't believe that people should be put to death unless the crime is so extraordinary that it warrants it. The terrorist acts, I don't care what Islam is or what it is. Killing people who've done you no harm has to be against any great being that has created this world. The brainwashing that goes on with people in different countries as far as how you should look at other people, we all have inherent biases. And in order to overcome them, you have to absolutely think. And many people find the effort of thinking and being considerate to a person of another race, another belief, or another sexuality inoffensive. And for whatever reason, if it's not affecting you directly, leave it alone. You should all find a better way to make this work. We're losing species of animals. We're losing too many young people. Young people who may have been able to affect this world in a greater way than someone who's sitting on piles of money. And many times, those people who have a lot of money, but they've gotten so far removed from the common man, they can no longer envision what a homeless, hungry person who's fighting addiction is going through. Can't imagine it because they have everything they need. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people who have made money, celebrities that made money that devote themselves to cause. They get so devoted to it, they walk away from the careers because they can see the need is there. And there are those still active that in their careers that yet still are doing everything they can for different causes. Those aren't the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about people that are out of touch with the reality of what's going on in this world. I've rattled on for a long time, and this is my thought. It kind of go, you know, kind of went with the history of the world, and then I went with religion and Memorial Day. Anyone that has lost someone, whether it be on Memorial Day, whether it be on any other day, their grief is no less significant. You lose someone you care so very deeply about. It doesn't matter when or how they were lost. It's important that that person be remembered for the person they were. And sometimes over time, that person, if they've been lost a long time ago, there's a lot of things about that person that get lost. The intricacies of the things they like, the jokes they used to like to make, uh, their hobbies. And I think it's important that we remember these soldiers on this day, to know that we have to be grateful. This is probably better. This is a better society than mankind has ever known. And yet, it's got a lot further to go. And congressmen and senators sitting up in Washington, D.C., and in my capital, Lansing, aren't doing anything to affect positively that I can see ways in which people are struggling to be able to get help. They focus all their money on the hot topic of the day instead of take care of people every day. That's your job. That's what you were elected for, to serve the people. And if people are being underserved by not having a job, not having a home, not having food to eat, provide it. Find a way. And maybe the numbers don't add up, but if you start doing the right things, everything falls into line. Problem is if you're spending money where it's not designed to go, that's when you go, well, we can't do this, we can't do that. I need this, and for all the money that goes in to the state lottery, it's supposed to help the schools. I hear nothing but bitching and complaining from many cities around my area on how the school boards are trying to affect things in the schools to dumb down education to get everyone through. It's not how it works. You challenge people in order to learn. And, God, that might be a little bit hard for you. You might have to think and come up with a plan, but do it. We're losing too many young people to gunfire and whatnot. When I was a kid, the only guns we fired were with the Boy Scouts when we go out to a shooting range and shoot a .22. Nowadays I got people living around me that have AK-47s, assault rifle collections. 2 or 3-year-old kids getting shot. People need to wake up. Memorial Day is to remember those who've gone, and it's to remember how they left, what they fought for, and what some of those men fought for seems to be slipping away nowadays. Because people don't have to do certain things. If you're a celebrity, we have a war, you don't have to sign up. How great of an American can you be if you're not willing to fight for the country and doing performances or whatnot? Oh, he's too great. He's too great a performer to fight. Trust me, back in the 40s, all the big stars served. And there was always a fear that many of them would be lost. Maybe some of them got assigned to lower visibility areas, but there were guys that were fighter pilots. Jimmy Stewart was a fighter pilot. Ted Williams was a fighter pilot. Jimmy Stewart was a colonel. There are many instances of that, and I think that this society has gotten soft, and they started allowing exemptions in the Vietnam War for people who had money that didn't want to lose their kids, and they fought not to win. And I'm sorry, you go into a competition, whatever it may be, go in to win. If you're there to stop something that shouldn't be going on, you finish the job. You don't half-ass it. And that's what this country did in Vietnam. Not the soldiers, the people making the decisions. Soldiers fought valiantly. They weren't given what they needed to win. There's no reason why they shouldn't have won. And that's a problem with this world today. You got people, or this country today, you got people that are serving the Senate that are brokering deals to enrich themselves and not look out for the best for the country. And these were things that the forefathers, when they put forth the Constitution and started this country, warned against. And they tried to build against it. And this generation of American that's now serving in Washington and in every state. They're chipping away at the things that allowed the country to become vital. And to me, the country became vital after World War II. And I think a large part of it is the population thought, well, that's over. We don't have to do anything else. Well, you're here, you're breathing. You have to continue it. You have to keep bettering it. And I don't think that's happened. I feel sorry for police officers who are underfunded. They're not given the support. They're not given the tools they need to combat these guys who are spreading drugs and violence all throughout the United States. And I think once the government allows police officers to be able to combat the bad guys, then much of the good will eventually resurrect. But you got too many people making too much money off illegal things, and I believe the government is probably getting a piece of that. So the American people have to stand up and change it. And these are my opinions. And and if somebody can prove them wrong or provide a good argument for me, which some of these things are not correct, I'd be open to that. But I am open to this country being great again. I'm first generation American. I've never known anything other than the U.S. My father's family came over from Ireland in the 50s, and I am sure, knowing what Ireland was like back then and the way the British have always treated the Irish as second-class humans, that my dad would be rolling in his grave right now, knowing what's going on and how kids are dying left and right, and how government is not being effective, uh, controlling so much of the illegal things, and people shooting people over dumb stuff. We shoot them over Nintendos or shoes. Over the years, it's just been so many stupid things. People leaving their guns in places where kids can get at them, where they can shoot themselves. The list goes on and on. Just the level of stupidity and lack of parenting, and a lot of this goes back to single parenthood. Two parents are needed, especially if you have more than one kid, to be able to mold these children into the kind of adults that you can be proud of, and not half-assing things. And there's a lot of people that half-ass things. I'm not going to say that I'm perfect and that I don't follow this, but I think if we had a greater contingent of people always trying to do the right thing would happen. That's my thought for Memorial Day.